Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast may contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews, be sure to check out our show on YouTube. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show.
What just happened? I think Reviews Without Remorse just hijacked your summer vacation. I am your friendly neighborhood film reviewer, Joe. And with me is Dave. He looks out for movies everywhere, he has a dope t-shirt, and I really respect him. What's up, dickwad?
Nice.
And this is episode number 126, and in this episode, Knives Out, the new star-studded whodunit, gets a trailer, along with the latest live-action remake of a classic Disney cartoon, Mulan. And then, you don't want any part of this. Reviews Without Remorse is going to review Spider-Man Far From Home. What's up, buddy?
I am doing pretty okay, sir. How are you doing?
I am doing wonderfully. Absolutely wonderfully.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I am very much looking forward to discussing this movie.
Me too. Long time, been waiting a long time for this one, so let's get to it.
I'm Detective Lieutenant Elliot, and this is Trooper Wagner.
We just want to ask a few questions.
We understand the night of his demise, the family have gathered to celebrate your father's 85th birthday. How was it, by the way?
The party? Pre my dad's death? Oh, it was great.
Now, I wasn't expecting... I knew nothing about this movie, to be perfectly honest with you. Okay? Knives Out, written and directed by Joe and I's favorite director, Mr. Rian Johnson.
I was actually pretty impressed that he had the stones to put big bold letters from the director of The Last Jedi. Really? Like, that's a draw. Okay, fine, whatever.
Here's the thing. I gotta be honest with you. I'm curious. I'm not a Rian Johnson fan, but you've got Ana de Armas, Chris Evans, Daniel Craig, Toni Collette, Michael Shannon, Jamie Lee Curtis, Christopher Plummer, Don Johnson. Dude, the cast alone has me curious.
I, on the other hand, am not at all curious and could give two shits. I actually, I saw this and I was like, nope. You can't drag me to this because this looks awful. I feel like, first of all, any of these sort of ensemble films, they never turn into anything that's decent. They're just there for this. The star power sells it alone. That's it. And I would be mildly interested in the idea of sort of a classic whodunit,
which is what this is. This is giving me the feeling of the classic Agatha Christie movies of like the 70s and 80s.
Yes, it does. It's meant to, but I personally just kind of feel like no. Like I said, I get the nostalgia, and I feel like if they pulled it off, I could be interested in it. But based on this trailer, based on the dialogue that I was seeing, I feel like this is one of those times where they lure in actors saying, guys, you get a chance to be really over the top and crazy and play against stereotype. So, of course, you get Chris Evans, everyone's favorite Captain America, telling the whole room to eat shit. I see Daniel Craig doing... I don't know what that accent is supposed to be. It's like this kind of American Southern British rolled up together. I couldn't tell what that was supposed to be.
I wasn't able to figure it out myself, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
But, it kind of reminded me of, like, from that movie Lucky Logan, that weird accent he was trying to do there, too.
Yeah, well, I did think of that, and that was very specific. And, I thought that was weird, but this was sort of like a hybrid. It was, when I watched the trailer again today, and there's a wisecrack about what is this, the CIA KFC, and I was kind of waiting. I thought the joke was meant to be that he's kind of doing a weird hybrid accent, but then I was like, I don't think it is, because he would have said something like MI6 KFC or Scotland Yard KFC. So I think he's just doing a full-blown Southern accent. I think. If he is, it's not working. And honestly, just not one single joke in this trailer landed. I again, when Captain America's going, eat shit, eat shit, eat shit, and all of the other jibber jabber around him the volume is so pulled down so you can just hear him. Like, I get what you're doing, but that just looks so painfully obvious that you dialed everyone's volume down to make the jokes. I didn't think any of it landed at all. So honestly, I just could care less. I put it this way: do you remember years ago? This is going back a while. You remember It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and then they kind of remade it into something called Rat Race, I think.
Yes.
And Cuba Gooding Jr. was in it, and a couple very B and C list actors and actresses. I'm about as excited for this as I was for Rat Race. It just looks terrible, so I really could care less. Have I been clear on this? Have I made my point that I'm not interested? Is the general thrust of this argument?
I kind of feel like the title from Rian Johnson, writer and director of The Last Jedi, I think that kind of, hedged your bias a little bit there. but you know what? You're not completely wrong. These type of movies are extremely hit or miss. I guess I fell for it most. And then, believe me, when the name Rian Johnson came up, I did, the head slap thing with my hand. Like, oh, no.
I honestly, I gave him credit for his chutzpah. I said, boy, he's got some brass ones to throw that out there. Like, this is some accomplishment. Look, I'm the director of Last Jedi. And I'm only semi sarcastic with that, by the way.
I'm not saying I want to see it. I'm not saying I want to add it to the calendar or anything like that, but I am curious enough about it that I will check it out. And I did really like Looper a lot. I felt it was a great movie. So I feel like, Johnson definitely has some ability. I just don't think he belongs in Star Wars. So I don't know. I'm going to see.
We have excellent news. The matchmaker has found you an auspicious match.
It is decided. Come and sit down. It is what is best for our family.
Yes, I will bring honor to us all.
Where's the singing dragon?
Listen, I'm sort of at a loss at this one because I literally have never seen the original. I've never seen the original Mulan, so I'm probably not a good judge when it comes to this trailer. Just based on its own merit, I kind of went, oh, look, it's a Disney movie about a spunky young girl who is told that she has to behave herself and behave like a young lady and be, very, very submissive and listen to people and be very docile. But she's got spunk and she's going to do things her own way and she's going to go off and do her own thing. Gosh darn it. And by the way, when they do the remake of The Little Mermaid, can we just copy and paste this audio? Because it's going to be the same exact thing when that comes along.
I watched this, and the first thing I thought to myself was, okay, so it's not going to be a musical. That's what they've said. It's not a musical. Which, I don't know. I suppose I should give some credit there. Very little credit, but whatever. But everything else about this just said to me kind of exactly what you just said. It's copy-paste. Obviously they're going for a more real, a tiny bit more of a realistic tone. Maybe they are looking to be closer to the source story because it's an ancient story that they translated into the first Mulan, which got a lot of people up in arms. So chances are they're probably going to be a bit more sensitive to the original source material, which is what it looks like they're doing. But on the other hand, I just I'm done with these remakes. I'm done with them.
Yeah.
We've got Jon Favreau doing The Lion King coming out in a week or two like that. And, Mr. Favreau, I love you. And normally, if you're directing, my butt is right there in the seat. And P.S. You are awesome and Far From Home, but we'll get to that. Yeah, no, I'm done with these. In fact, can we just call it right here and right now? Can we just promise that we're no longer going to cover Disney animated movie live action remakes as trailers anymore? Can we do that?
But they're so much fun. Well, I mean, I think we're only down to one more. Is The Little Mermaid, by the way, which apparently now is.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, there's other shit coming.
I think we've kind of gotten them all at this point. We got Dumbo. I mean, I guess they could do. I guess there are more. I mean, they're not going to do Song of the South, that's for sure. What's left?
But
Bambi?
maybe they should. Maybe that's one that's ripe for Bambi. There you go.
Yeah.
Bambi is ripe for remake. We've got the original Snow White is ripe for remake.
Well, they've sort of. Well,
no, that was Maleficent. That was
Sleeping Beauty. You're right. Okay.
Which also got a trailer today.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, there's a sequel.
Oh.
It got a trailer. It just came out, like literally a couple of minutes before we started showing.
Oh my God.
I didn't even bring it up because I was like, oh my God, we got to record.
Yeah, let's. You know what struck me about this one too? Like you said, they're doing this as a kind of a more grounded, realistic film, which kind of begged the question. Look, again, to the Disney cartoons that have talking animals, that to me says, well, that's why they made it into a cartoon, and that's why if you do it as a CGI remake, it kind of lends itself a little bit because at least it's different, and you can't do this in real life. But now that we have CGI, Mulan was a film that always could have been a live action film. There's nothing really about this, as far as I can tell. There's no magic. There's no talking animals. So
there was a talking animal. There was Mushu the dragon, played by Eddie Murphy.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that. And like you said, we didn't see it in this. So, again, begs the question. There was a reason why they decided to do it as a cartoon. They decided not to do it as a live action. Why are we doing this now? The logic of all this is baffling. And again, I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, Disney just sort of realized we don't got to come up with a new thing for the next 10 years. Like we could just do this crap for 10 whole years and get away with it, and people will spend money and all is well. And then maybe later on we'll hire somebody to come up with something new. But boy, is this yes. I mean, it's beyond tired at this point. I feel like several films ago we were kind of rolling our eyes going, why do we need this now?
Everywhere I go, I see his face. I just really miss him.
Yeah, I miss him too. I don't think Tony would have done what he did if he didn't know that you were going to be here after he was gone.
You gonna be the next Iron Man now?
Well, no, I don't have time. I'm too busy doing your jobs.
What?
I'm kidding. Look, keep up the good work. Because I am going on vacation.
Following the events of Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man must step up to take on new threats in a world that has changed forever. Written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, based on characters created by Steve Ditko and Stan Lee, directed by John Watts, Spider-Man: Far From Home. They made Mysterio work. I'm saying it right there at the start. I'm starting with that. I was a little curious as to how they were going to pull off Mysterio. He's not exactly a straightforward character to translate. And in my opinion, in this world that they have built for the MCU, they made him work. Joe.
I completely agree with you there. I absolutely agree with you. And that was probably one of the things that surprised me the most as well. I kind of felt like they can't do that. But boy, did they do it in spades. I mean, they really, honestly, that's a character that's perfect for this day and age.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they really, that was pretty impressive. And honestly, I had sort of mixed feelings about Jake Gyllenhaal, who I think is a great actor. But he, almost because he's such a great actor, such a weird, I mean, he does such weird roles and stuff that are just...
Nightcrawler. I'm thinking of Nightcrawler,
boy,
too.
is that a great movie.
Yes, it is.
I mean, he nailed that character good. I was a little nervous about him in an MCU movie, but boom, he knocked it out of the park here too. He really played the duality of that character. Mm-hmm. Boom, got it.
Let's get right into spoilers. We're gonna have to get right into spoilers, so let's just leave it at Joe and I. Would you say you recommend the movie?
I would say I recommend it. Yes,
I also recommend seeing the movie.
It's at this point, Marvel won't steer you wrong, and this one's no different.
Nope, but we're going into spoiler territories because there is a lot to unpack here.
Amen.
Oh, freaking my God. The callbacks. The crazy callbacks that just kind of blended together. The fact that they got the guy from the first Iron Man to be one of his techs just was like insane to me.
Isn't that crazy? Totally.
Yes. And I'm not one of these people that is, that feels like, if you have to explain who a character is, then, you're doing it wrong. When they do that whole thing where it's like, hey, you're this guy, and then they show like a flashback to something like earlier in the movie. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. I kind of feel like it's pandering to the people that aren't paying attention. But here it worked. You needed to, because this is like 24 movies ago that you last saw this guy.
Yeah, very true. And I kind of went wow when they did that, and there was another character that they pulled out as well, and I thought that was terrific. Who am I thinking of that they also pulled out? Somebody else.
Oh goodness! Shoot, there was one more. Now I can't remember it either. I'm gonna have to see the movie again.
Well, which I'm sure I will actually. In fact, my niece is dying to go see it, so we might be seeing it tomorrow. But yes. What you're saying right there, ironically, sort of is hinting at one of the biggest things I took away from this, where I really did sort of feel like, wow, they're kind of getting to where this was more of an MCU film than it was a Spider-Man film. And
for sure.
That is not a criticism, or maybe it's just a mild one, but yeah, I mean, this really did hinge on the idea that this is post-Endgame, what's next? Spider-Man is almost just sort of along for the ride. And yeah, it really did just sort of, make it clear that this is more just a general MCU movie, really. And Spider-Man is just a part of that. All of those extra characters that came in, it's very much about being in the shadow of Iron Man, of Tony Stark. And yeah, and they kind of, I'll say this too, by the way, how after Infinity War, people sort of called Ant-Man and the Wasp the perfect palate cleanser?
Yeah.
This was very similar. I felt like this was very much also palate cleanser, because honestly, when they did that bit about reversing the snap, or what they called the blip.
Yes.
I remember watching that, saying to myself, okay, they're very, very consciously putting a very funny, positive, lighthearted spin on that. Because, that was something that was pretty dark, right? I mean, this was a dark thing. People are now just sort of reappearing that have been missing for 5 long years. And by the way, I can't take credit for this little observation, but I sure hope people weren't on a cruise ship when they got snapped, if you're going to reappear exactly where it was that you took off from. I feel
people also fell out of the sky, dude.
Exactly right. I feel bad for people who were in airplanes. I feel bad for the guy who was flying the helicopter that crashed into the building right before Nick Fury goes away. So yeah, I mean, it's very funny when they reappear in the middle of a basketball game and people are getting bounced on the head with basketballs. But again, that was a very dark thing that happened. So, again,
I also think the teacher talking about his wife pretending to have been snapped to get away from him.
Yes.
Was kind of funky as well.
Yes, right. I mean, again, talk about kind of, putting the fun in the snap. So yeah, it was definitely meant to be a very light response almost to things that had happened. So, and by the way, there was one sort of, maybe I should slow it down because I don't want to, go off on tangents about the little things that I found wrong with it, because there's a lot that's great about this film. But yeah, I mean, the lightheartedness of it shines through, and I wondered if that was always effective.
The lightheartedness, you mean? The comedy?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, like I said, it's very much supposed to be, an afterthought of Endgame. But again, trying to do it in a very light way, where we're just touching on it, and we're gonna kind of make it out to be something that was sort of light and funny, because this film is not going to be dark and disturbing, or anything. So
and yet,
yeah. So it kind of there were moments that sort of left me a little like not sure how to feel about things. But again, other than that, it's a lot of fun and it's great.
The moments that you're talking about, the darkness, like I gave the example of the teacher.
Yes.
And there are lots of little dark moments throughout this entire thing. The entire, for example, if you want to talk about real dark, I'd say the first time that Mysterio attacks Spider-Man, that entire illusion, maybe one of the most intense sequences in a Marvel movie, because it wasn't even just that it was an attack; it was deeply personal and deeply, like psychological almost.
Yeah.
When Iron Man came out of the grave and stuff like that, and looked like, ironically, like right out of the Marvel Zombies comic book cover, exactly like it, as a matter of fact. It just was like, oh my goodness. And did you notice that he had Black Widows crawling all over him too?
No, but that's an interesting little observation.
I mean, seriously, there were some, like, for all of its levity, there were some moments of holy moly, this is grim in a way. The way people were just kind of like nonchalant about the quote unquote blip or the decimation or the snap, or whatever they want to call it now, what have you. I found that a little bit off-putting. I can understand, but I don't think it derailed the movie for me at all. I don't think it really went over the top. I feel like it was used in just the right amounts to give the audience, it's the typical Marvel thing. You go a little black, you pull back with a joke. You go a little black, and then you pull back with a joke. This movie may be like the amalgamation of everything that they've learned throughout the years of doing Marvel movies, because this is dark, light, dark, light, dark, light. So much so you almost get whiplash.
Yeah. And again, I am sort of focusing on like the negatives first, just to sort of give us a springboard to talk. I don't want it to be an hour long of complaining about little nitpicks about the film, because it is a great film. It's another Marvel home run for damn sure. I will say though, I'm glad that sometimes especially with the new releases, like you or I might literally be coming from the theater, barely having time to process it. We sit down and we talk about it, and then the initial kind of like excitement is very 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 apparent. Like a week or two later, we're kind of going, oh yeah. So I'm glad I had a little time to sit with this one. It's been a good few days now. I saw it like last week. So I was able to process it, and there were some things that probably again, like I think when I first saw it, my initial score was going to be it settled just a tiny bit, not even a whole point, just settled a little. And once I thought it over, and I kind of was like, all right. And there were some things in the film that I think were confusing and borderline wrong, but I think that was meant to be the way it was, and is sort of explained away in the post credits, which we'll get to. So I thought some characterizations were a little off, but there was sort of one fundamental flaw that I picked up on, and I'm sort of having a hard time sorting through. I'm sure it could be explained away. I know it can. Still, it kind of bugged me a little bit. And that is, I felt like the whole point of Spider-Man Homecoming was Spider-Man really, really, really wanted to be an Avenger. He really wanted to help out. That was literally the whole point of his whole being, to the point where at the very end, he kind of had like a moment of like, okay, I guess I can wait a little bit. Here, he's literally doing 180 degrees different. I don't want to be an Avenger. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want to have to be Spider-Man. Again, now, could you argue, well, look, after being blipped away and going through what he went through in Endgame, anybody would say, I need a vacation from being a superhero. Like I said, I get that, and that is a perfectly fair argument. But I do feel that this is, again, to go 180 degrees different, that might be a little much.
I feel you. I do, and I can see what you're talking about. I try to remind myself that this is supposed to be a 16 or 17-year-old kid. It is supposed to be just coming back from probably the hugest battle that he's ever been in after being away for 5 years, finding out that a lot of people have grown up and moved on in their lives after 5 years. His mentor dying, his mentor then leaving him the obligation of Edith.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, maybe there is something to the idea that he just wants to, for a little bit, just be a kid. Just be him. Just be a little kid. Not have to worry about the Peter Tingle or anything like that. Just be a kid. Get alone with MJ. Tell her how he feels about her. All that other stuff. These type of things that a normal kid would really want, and is actually a key part of the entire Spider-Man mythos. Is that he was always trying to find that balance, and sometimes one had to be put aside for the other. In many cases. And here he was trying to do that. And I felt, as a characterization for Spider-Man, I thought it was pretty honest. Maybe a little bit of a stretch. I can't completely disagree with you, but I didn't take it quite the way you did.
Hey, listen, it had to be... all the points you're making are perfectly valid. Again, I almost feel like it had to have been such a noticeable reversal to really get me stuck on this. Almost to the point where, and this is going to sound like a cheap shot. I don't mean it. When you hear what I'm going to say, you're going to be like, wow. It's almost to the point where Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, where it was such a 180 degree reversal from what his character was. I wish you could see his face right now. I wish you could see his face. And I said, dude, listen, hear me out.
It's why I'm not saying anything yet.
But your face is priceless. But okay, again, the reason why The Last Jedi, again, it's not even so much that like someone could convince me that Luke Skywalker had been through some things and is now a little jaded or a little old and cranky and just kind of jaded, etc. I could have bought it. Except that it was almost a mirror opposite of what his character was the last time we saw that character. This one again, it's the same. That is an extreme example to just explain what I'm talking about with this. Again, he went from all he wanted in the whole film was to be an Avenger, and this one is literally him saying all I want to do is not be an Avenger. It really had to be such a mirror opposite from his ambition and his motivation in the last one to make me kind of go, all right, now I'm getting a little stuck on this. Like I said, I don't mean that it is an extreme case like The Last Jedi. I'm just, like I said, that's just my example of the motivation, almost like a coin flip. So it was enough to make me kind of go, I'm not sure I'm gonna buy that.
I don't think your parallel is apt at all. I understand why you're using it as a parallel, and I understand how you feel, and I appreciate and accept that. Let's not invoke the destruction of Luke Skywalker into this, because the character of Spider-Man is still valid at the end of this movie, unlike the end of that last movie.
Look, it's kind of like...
That is a bad metaphor, man. That is a bad metaphor.
Look, it's probably like invoking Hitler while trying to explain to a child why they shouldn't be mean to their classmate. Yeah, I get it. It's an extreme example, but it was just too obvious to me, to pass up. Yes, like I said, I'm not saying that it destroyed the character. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just simply saying that it's hard to make a leap from a guy who wants one thing and one thing only to literally going to the exact opposite, saying that's the one thing I don't want right now, and I'm going to do everything I can to not have to do that. I mean, literally, that is his motivation here. I mean, he literally, the tipping point is when he hands the glasses over to somebody else. He literally says, I don't want this responsibility. I don't want to have to do this. I'm going to go play with my friends. And here you go. Yes,
yeah, whoa. Hold on. I got to interrupt you there, because the glasses thing, the responsibility with the glasses thing is a completely different thing. He wanted to be an Avengers. He wanted to be an Avenger, and he became an Avenger. He didn't want to lead the Avengers, and those glasses are a level of responsibility, an almost leadership level of responsibility that he's not ready for. He's a 16-year-old kid.
Agreed.
That's why he gave him up to Beck so quickly.
Yeah, yes, I do. And this, right, this is a case of be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And I'm sure that's exactly what's going through his mind. Be careful what you wish for, because now look, all I wanted to do is be an Avenger, and now I'm suddenly the only Avenger who could save the world at this point. And he says, I didn't want to spend my summer vacation saving the world. I'm not trying to, maybe I should just totally backpedal and take everything back, because again, I'm not trying to get that carried away. I'm simply saying that's a big fat leap in motivation to do in one film. To say, take this kid who all he wanted to do was be an Avenger. Now suddenly all he wants to do is not be an Avenger. I feel like if I'm writing the story for the next Spider-Man film, that might not be the way to go. I might not, do a story where he really, really doesn't want to be an Avenger. He really, really doesn't want to be a superhero. He doesn't even bring his suit, for crying out loud. And literally the entire film is him trying to duck out of doing that. And again, is that in line with Spider-Man's character? With great power comes great responsibility. I just felt like this, and again, I'm literally talking about a tiny little ding in the paint that's otherwise flawless. So we can move on after this, I swear to you. But
I was about to say, for a tiny ding, we're talking about it a lot.
Like I said, we can wrap up and we can move on. That's all I'm saying is, like, if I was writing the story, I don't know if I would have jumped into this one quite so quickly. I might have at least put it off to the third one or something, and he could have at least had some time where he's saying to himself, okay, now I'm an Avenger. This is cool. Now what? Let's do some Avenger stuff. And then maybe halfway through he says, oh boy, this was more than I bargained for. To start off from the point of I really don't want to do this, not how I would have gone. Let's move on to how good other stuff is.
Well, everything else was pretty damn awesome, actually. Even the stuff that at first didn't make sense to me kind of had made sense by the end of the movie. I don't think many scenes were wasted. I don't think that there was any bits in there that felt hollow. I felt that the attempt to court MJ, I thought that was sweet. I thought that she was much more... MJ was much more personable in this movie as compared to the first one. Yeah. But I'm sure that was on purpose. I thought Gyllenhaal was outstanding as Beck. I definitely want to give him that. And any inconsistencies I felt with the character of Nick Fury get explained by the mid-credits sequence, so there's that. And yeah, I mean the end credit sequence. Yeah, no, I thought the special effects were great. I thought that the settings were great. I thought the script was tight, and the directing was very well done. I'm trying to think of more, but right now I'm just, this whole analogy to Luke is just, I can't get it out of my head. You have to talk. You have to talk good things. Talk good things.
Dude, like I said, I feel like I'm the teacher who's sitting down with a child talking about why it's not nice to be mean to this kid. You know, for example, there was this guy Hitler, and the parents are going, "What? You're comparing my kid?" No, I'm not. I'm just making a point. All right, look. Mysterio, awesome. Very, very cool. I was very impressed with how they handled him. And I loved the fact that he was, you know, again, I liked how they took the character of the sort of trickster, you know, the game player who likes to put things over people's eyes. They did that on multiple levels. It was like his literal plan and his long-term plan. Meaning like, again, he himself was doing this entire ruse to do what the things he wanted to do, and he used deception as his weapon. So that, I thought that was really cool. They used that on multiple levels, and I thought it was used effectively. I've heard people sort of say, like, duh, was that really a twist? I mean, anybody who knows Mysterio knows he's a villain. Well, yeah, right.
Not many people know Mysterio, though.
Well, I think most people, even by the look of him, frankly, the goldfish over the goldfish bullhead, I kind of felt like, yes, I mean, like most people would guess that he's going to be the ultimate villain. The question is how, when, and whatever. And honestly, as I was following Peter Parker, I was completely convinced. I had no problem sort of buying into the idea that this guy is a good guy. So when the switch happened, I had no problem with it whatsoever. So yeah, I thought they really did that pretty well. The effects are obviously great. I mean, we're at the point where I don't even know if it's even worth mentioning at this point, the effects, because we've become accustomed to them being excellent. And again, all the supporting characters, the kids were great. I did question a lot of times throughout the film, and like you said, they do sort of explain it by the end, why Nick Fury makes some of the decisions he makes. And even though the post credits or the mid credits kind of explains it, well, it does and it doesn't. Like it explained why Nick Fury didn't seem to make the decisions that I would expect him to make. Yet there he is sipping a pina colada on the spaceship somewhere, and allowing the guys, you know, the aliens, to run the show on Earth. So it still makes you go, okay, that begs the question, why would Nick Fury be content to do that? I mean, at this point, we don't know, so I'm not gonna ding it. Maybe that'll be explained at another date. But I still walked away going, okay, why? Why would he be off on another world relaxing in front of a phony sunset while this guy's down here making a lot of pretty dumb decisions in the name of Nick Fury? And frankly, I mean, if he's posing as Nick Fury, he's got buku high-level clearance on a lot of classified stuff. And Nick Fury
trusts him.
Big time. I mean, literally trusts him to basically be Nick Fury. For a guy who once said, the last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye, he seems to trust this guy an awful lot. So I still kind of go, okay. Like I said, I'm not going to ding it now because I'm waiting to see how this plays out. But got questions.
Yeah.
Boy, this is going to be a Dave Hates Joe episode, isn't it?
I guess Nick Fury needed a vacation. You know, the very vacation that he wouldn't give Spider-Man, which is kind of a Nick Fury thing to do.
I suppose.
The other question would be, okay, when did Nick Fury get taken over by Talos?
Yes, that is another question that I totally share with you, my friend, because That was odd. Because again, what was striking about this to me, this development, was, again, he shows up, right? Someone who we've just seen for the first time in Captain Marvel, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So on one level of thinking, that makes perfect sense. We met him in Captain Marvel. It's 2 films later. He came back. But wait a second. Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s. So technically, we're seeing this guy for the first time in a couple of decades. So like you said, well, how long has he been sort of in the shadows or been behind the scenes kind of pulling some strings?
I don't know. You know, a lot of people say that it's been since Avengers Age of Ultron.
That's interesting.
You know why?
Why?
In Avengers Age of Ultron, he's eating a piece of toast that's diagonally cut. Think about it.
I think you just blew up my brain.
In Captain Marvel, she asks him to tell him something like really weird and unique that only you would know. And Fury responds that he can't eat sandwiches diagonal cut. He just can't.
That is interesting. So you're saying in Age of Ultron, he was eating diagonally cut toast?
Correct. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. So, could it have been for that long? I suppose it's possible, but I mean, it would explain a lot. Like, one of the things that happened in the first Avengers movie was, okay, this is a giant catastrophic event. Why wouldn't he have called for Captain Marvel at that point? Well, now you have to wonder, maybe he did, and she just didn't arrive until after and kept it quiet and said, we've got cosmic stuff going on here. Talos, take my place. I'm gonna oversee stuff in the galaxy. I want to see that story.
You know what? That is really interesting because, like you said, that for him to say that about toast in that film is sort of so wildly specific and weird that that kind of holds water. But here's what's bugging me then. Who vanished in the snap? The real Nick Fury or the fake Nick Fury?
Well, it would have to have been Talos then.
Not necessarily.
But who else could it have been? Do you think Nick Fury's just coming and going as he pleases in the galaxy?
Well, that's a good point too, because I did say to myself, look, even if Nick Fury was Talos somewhere, the real Nick Fury was someplace, but I suppose you would have to infer that Nick Fury has been on the spaceship for however long. Wow, my brain is just going to kind of go cuckoo now. Yeah, that's a weird one. And incidentally, by the way, I still sort of say to myself after, like, is everything now in the MCU, does it all take place plus 5 years from now? Like,
yes, everything is plus 5 years from now.
So Spider-Man Far From Home literally takes place in
2023.
See, now that's weird because I also saw other things that would sort of contradict that.
Such as?
Well, I think the poster has, if you look closely at the poster, there are some dates on the, he's got kind of what looks like passport stamps on his mask. I could have sworn there was a date in there that didn't sync up with that. But you know what? Let's not even. We could be here all day doing that. One of the things I noticed when they were talking on the plane about the good looking guy, they say, "Oh, that guy, he came back from summer vacation and he's all older and bigger now, and all the girls love him." I thought what they were going for with that was that he's actually 5 years older.
He is. That's exactly what they were going for.
That he's 5 years older.
Yes, before the blip, everybody who's still the same age they were in the first movie, they all got blipped. But this guy, he didn't get blipped.
Right.
He's now 5 years older. Yes.
Yeah, but why is he still in high school then? If you didn't get blipped, you would have stayed in high school and graduated. Basically, Peter Parker's class should be...
Did they say he was like the younger brother of somebody from their class?
I don't know. I think...
No, they did, because they actually mentioned that he's now older than his brother. They actually did point out that he's now older than his brother, who was younger, who got blipped.
Wow, this review is really screwing with my head. I walked away thinking to myself, wait a second. Basically, Peter Parker's class should be 50% people who got blipped and are now back. The other 50% are people he doesn't know yet that are all new to him because the people that are in his class were 5 years younger when he got blipped, and now they're 5 years older, so, meaning like they would have been like in the sixth grade when he got blipped. Now they're in his class. Does that make sense?
No, not necessarily. Didn't they say he was a senior now? I'm pretty sure they said he was a senior.
I don't know.
Wow. I mean, did you ever think that we would be spending this much time just going over the nuance of where the hell this is in the timeline and everything like that?
Seriously, I honestly, and honestly, look, to try to circle back to just doing a review of the film, I think that a lot of the reason why, again, my initial score was X, and now it just sort of like settled just a tiny little bit. It's a lot of this kind of stuff. It's a lot of the stuff that my brain kind of went, wait a second, as I was watching the film. I'm not quite getting a lot of the nuances of what's actually happening. And I guess the film is struggling hard not to do that. Like it's like we kept saying, like it was sort of like dark material that is sort of being repackaged into kind of like just fun, lighthearted stuff. You know, we don't want to get carried away with all that other stuff, but we got to address it kind of, sort of. Yeah, a lot of it is very confusing, and I kind of felt like at the end of the day that might be why I'm a little hesitant to give it the super high marks that I would. And again, this is a great film. It's a really great film. I'm going to see it again probably tomorrow, and I'm very excited to do so. So again,
seeing it again might help coalesce some of these thoughts that are now just popping into our heads like crazy.
It may very well. And again, I'm already sort of regretting this review because I do feel like I've spent a lot of time nitpicking stuff. Again, the whole thing is great. The whole thing is fun. It works out great. By the way, here's 2 points, and feel free to comment on either one. One, I'm really shocked just how much was in the trailer that was not in the film. I mean, a lot. I think this might be the most of anything I've ever seen before. I mean, we've kind of gotten accustomed to the MCU sort of throwing some little curveballs in the trailers. This one I was shocked. I mean, I felt like there were whole scenes in the trailer that were not in the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't recall. First of all, he never went and got a passport. I did not see him web slinging solo in Manhattan after getting his passport, and there was a whole scene. Isn't there a whole scene in the trailer where he takes out a whole mob?
Yeah, and then the cops say, he makes the joke about doing your job for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And you better do it, take care of it yourself because I'm going on vacation. Was any of that in the movie? I don't think so.
No, it wasn't. And I don't know if that's a Marvel or a Sony thing, but yeah, I wasn't too impressed with the fact that those were missing. I'm sort of wondering why. Like, I mean, and another thing that was funny to me, or just an interesting observation, that scene with the mobsters, he's wearing his Iron Spider costume. Yet, the scene where Happy shows up with the big check, they do the fundraiser, he's wearing his classic costume, but in the film, he's wearing the Iron Spider costume. So there is a lot of stuff going on in that trailer that did not happen in the film. Or just happened differently. You know what? At this point, when it comes to Marvel movies and trailers, there's always going to be a level of mind screwery to try to prevent spoilers or whatever. I don't even think that the trailers can even be indicative of the movies that we get anymore. because it's just not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is getting to where I wonder if now are they filming whole extra footage just to say this is for the trailer, and then the movie will start, someplace else, and I'm sort of wondering now, do I have a problem with that? I don't think I do. I think I'm actually kind of fine with it, really. I mean, if they just did like a whole 3-minute short, and that was the trailer, and it's not in the actual film, I don't think I mind that, really. That could be just a different way to do trailers. In fact, I kind of wonder if that's almost sort of harkening back to what they did way back when. I think I'm sort of having flashbacks of Hitchcock just talking to the camera about Psycho without actually showing clips, saying, this is my new film, go see it. And maybe I'm fine with that, if that's sort of how trailers go.
You know what? I kind of would be fine with that as well. I really appreciate that the trailers show, but don't show too much. Yeah, the last couple of films have been that way. Just not really spoiling anything, and I like that.
Yeah.
I'm sick of movies spoiling things.
Exactly, yeah. So I think I'm fine with it. And by the way, the other point I wanted to bring up, and I will let you run with this, my friend, J.K. Simmons, go!
Yay! That minute that gruffy voice came on, I was excited. Unfortunately, it got spoiled. That got spoiled for me.
Oh, really?
I was so pissed off that it got spoiled for me. But Liam, just he lost it. We were high-fiving each other and stuff like that. Just so excited to see him. Much different look. He still had the stash, but now the bald head and everything like that. But still, that man is a national frickin' treasure, and if anybody can play J. Jonah Jameson, it's that beautiful man there.
Yeah.
And he's perfect for the damn part.
You know what? Honestly, as soon as I saw that, I said to myself, I was sitting in the meetings about how are we gonna do how are we ever gonna follow? You know what? Screw it. Just get him back, because we can't recast that actor. We can't recast that part. I will say the costume commander in me wishes the buzz cut was back.
It's pretty buzzed cut.
Okay. I was a little kind of I get what the point is, and there is certainly, again, the Spider-Mans have been. How do I want to say this? It definitely puts a young person's mindset in there. Like Flash Thompson doing his live chats and live streams and everything on his Instagram, I guess. And, there is kind of, the movies are sort of aimed at a younger group than us. You know what I mean? But still, I kind of was saying to myself, but it's not like the New York Times is not the New York Times anymore, even though there are all kinds of online blogs to get your news at this point, I suppose. So I kind of was, I was a little disappointed they didn't stick with a classic Daily Bugle. Again, it was just dailybugle.net. That doesn't really necessarily mean it's not the classic Daily Bugle.
Oh, dude, they're going Alex Jones. Alex Jones.
Right. Yes, exactly. And I was kind of all right. But, again, like I said, I got to stop complaining. Seriously, I was glad. I was very, very happy and excited to see him.
It is possible that by the time the sequel comes around, he'll have gotten a monicum of fame, and in his ego, he'll get a hairpiece and stuff like that. Who knows? Anything is possible. This is just the first time we're seeing the character. Might have been a last-minute addition, and maybe at the time they weren't sure if they could get J.K. Simmons, because he literally looks like he just came off the street to film the scene.
Seriously, right? Yeah. Very true.
And I'm personally not going to complain. I was happy to see him there. I was relieved to see him there. And, all good things to me. All good things to me, if you ask me.
I absolutely agree. It was great. That was a great, that was a treat. And I am curious now to see what they do with that. The whole, his name is Peter Parker. So.
Yeah, I was both impressed and shocked that that's how they were going to leave it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Yeah, I will say this. There were moments in this film where I was saying to myself, like, all right, am I watching a Spider-Man movie or am I watching Iron Man Jr. movie? Because there were a lot
I guess they kind of were going with that, yeah.
I mean, I kind of felt like, and I'm starting to wonder now, by the way, is it easy? Is it just easier to do superhero movies where they don't have to deal with secret identities? I'm kind of wondering if that's not what they're doing with this, because I find that I'm always sort of baffled with how fast and loose, like, Spider-Man's mask would come flying off every minute during during Infinity War and Endgame. Like, people that you don't know show up and you just take your mask off. I'm Spider-Man, dude, or whatever, or we're the Avengers. I'm like, aren't you concerned at all about your identity? I'm wondering if the filmmakers...
That was kind of a big character trait, yeah.
Right, and again, I mean, the mask is always coming off. I mean, at one point during this film, he and Beck... Now, again, we don't know this at the time, but the pub is actually fake. But Beck and Spider-Man are sitting there in their costumes with the masks off, having a beer.
Yeah, but he was Night Monkey then.
Yeah, I know, but... still, even more reason to leave the mask on.
Well, dude, we've been having this discussion about this for a while. The secret identity thing, obviously, within the MCU is dead, and is not something that they actually are interested in exploring.
Yeah, that's very true, and I'm a tad disappointed at that. I mean, I'm one. I mean, again, in all the posters, like it's always people without their masks. I get the point of it, and I get that they're stars, and people are, part of the reason why the movies are doing as well as they are is that the stars behind the masks are so personable and likable. But I don't know. Like, do we really want to just toss aside that whole aspect of what makes... I mean, I feel like the whole dynamic between, like, for example, Superman and Clark Kent. Christopher Reeve did that part so well because he played, Clark Kent distinctively and he played Superman distinctively. That dynamic was a huge part of what made that story special. So I don't know. I'm kind of wondering why are we not interested in that at all in these films?
Maybe they feel it's been done to death. I don't know.
Or maybe the star power is just that good. But
I don't know, man. It's something that's been annoying me for a while. The secret identity thing has long been flushed down the tube, and at this point, I think they're just expecting audiences to be like, embrace it or GTFO. And I don't know.
Thank you, Spider-Man.
That was so good.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
Happy.
You look nice.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. New dress?
Yes, it is. How'd you know?
What just happened?
But what I do know is we got to score this sucker.
Yeah, boy, we've been
we went off on the wrong track on this one. We got off on the wrong area.
Well, who's gonna go first?
I was entertained from beginning to end. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a fun movie. As a follow-up to Endgame, I think it works very well. As a final goodbye to the Tony Stark character, to the introduction of Peter Parker, the scientist, oh my God, how awesome was it when Peter Parker, the scientist, built his frickin' suit? The exact thing I said. Didn't I call this? I said, I bet you in the next movie he builds his own suit based on the tech that Tony Stark gave him. I called that. I want the credit for that. And he did. I felt it was very touching, emotional. I felt that the characterizations worked perfectly. I think Tom Holland is an exceptional Peter Parker and Spider-Man. I liked MJ more. Ned is always awesome. Ned and Betty. I was just tickled pink by Ned and Betty.
Yes.
J.K. Simmons being back. Jake Gyllenhaal. Holy son of a gun. You pulled it off, you beautiful bastard. And I wish to goodness you hadn't died at the end. Or who knows? Who knows? My son and I are kind of debating. It's like, well, this is Mysterio we're talking about. Like, I don't know about that, but yeah, we'll see. I gave this movie a 9. I had that much fun with this movie. I had very little bad to actually say about it that doesn't come across as nitpicking or, feeling less than sincere. And I thought about it. I've been thinking about it since I saw it Saturday morning. I've been trying to think of stuff to ding it for, and there's just not a lot.
Yeah, I would agree with that, even though I spent most of this podcast digging the hell out of it. Listen, yes, you're absolutely right. I gave this movie an 8. I felt like even when I first walked out of the theater, it was a high 8. And I kind of felt like once I had some time to let the smoke settle and to start thinking about some things, it just sort of settled into just an 8. Just I said my 8 is I was sort of doing the same thing, debating between 8 and 9, and then I just sort of settled and said I think my 8 is good. I don't think it is as effective as Homecoming, but again, we're still talking about a very, very high bar. I thought the film was wildly entertaining. I was thrilled to see all the same players again. I agree with you that Ned wanting to be bachelors in Europe, and then suddenly, before he's even off the plane, hey babe, everything was babe. I thought that was funny. Jake Gyllenhaal, like you said, knocks that out of the park. He's really terrific in this. The fact that they pulled off Mysterio is, in its own right, pretty insane. And I liked how they played his character, how he was a deception on multiple levels. And again, everything about it worked. I think the only problem I had with the film, again, was a lot of moments where I struggled with some of the logic of things that were happening. And again, I know that is sort of dismissed at the end by the fact that Nick Fury is not actually Nick Fury. But again, it did sort of distract me a lot in the film. I did say to myself, why is Nick Fury dragging his whole school just to get Spider-Man to be where he wants him to be? He's going to redirect the whole school of children to go to a whole other country, putting them, again, right in the line of fire. Not such a smart idea, and having them go to the opera is not exactly the best plan, as we see. If things get out of hand, it could have been the whole city that got destroyed. Doesn't matter if they're in the opera, frankly. Things like that were kind of throughout the film. I'm kind of going, well.
You went
well. Why would he do that? But again, like you said, overall it is wildly entertaining. It was a terrific time, and I have no problem giving this an 8 and strongly recommending people see this film again. Marvel films don't disappoint. I've yet to see a Marvel film that I didn't think was absolutely spectacular. And this one was absolutely no different. I mean, like I said, I would sort of put this on par with the Ant-Man films. I think those were great fun. They're great films. I enjoyed them. I think I enjoyed them more than most. And again, good palate cleansers after the very heavier Marvel films. So again, I'm giving it an 8, and I definitely recommend the film.
All right. Well, who asked you then?
Well, how about this? I'll just say I wish J. Jonah Jameson had his flat top.
Touche. I'll grant you that. Mine is even more nitpicky than that. Hey, Aunt May, he's going international. Maybe you want to put his spider suit under the clothes, not on top, so that when customs goes through the suitcase, it's not just laying right there like a giant sore thumb. Maybe Aunt May.
I do like the fact that they open it up and they look at him and they're like not even 1 second believing that this is actually Spider-Man, just some goober who has a Spider-Man costume.
Yeah, they were more concerned about the banana too. So
yeah, right, exactly.
For your consideration,
I'm gonna go with Mysterio. I said, I was on multiple levels. I'm impressed with the performance. I liked the backstory they gave him. And again, I liked the fact that he was, again, Mr. Deception. Not only is his character, he's totally playing a ruse. He's totally a no good bad guy pretending to be a hero, but he uses deception as his weapon. So I thought, boy, they really did sort of get to the heart of the character, and bring him to life in a way that works. And again, I've sort of, it's kind of been a sort of a pet peeve of mine that, a lot of what happens in the MCU is dismissed as tech, meaning like tech is the Deus Ex Machina that can more or less do anything at this point. I did think, like, for example, when they did the whole hallucination, he puts Peter Parker in this big hallucination, and there's all kinds of, I mean, he's more or less trapped in like the opening of a James Bond film. There's just stuff happening everywhere, and it's a big kaleidoscope of things happening. And like, again, as I'm watching this, I'm saying to myself, all right, look, that's all well and good, but something like that would take a team of people to put together.
Which he had.
Yeah, but I mean, again, does he have 100 people sitting around saying, I need a hallucination specifically for Peter Parker? Or is he doing that off the cuff? The impression I'm getting is that the movie is trying to tell me that he's doing this off the cuff. And again, it's not a ding, I swear. But again, I just sort of say that they do sort of put a lot at the altar of it's just new technology, because all kinds of crazy things can happen with technology now. Fair enough, fine. So, but again, I thought the way they brought this character to life was very well done.
The funny part is that scene is actually my for your consideration of all the things that happened in the movie, and I loved everything about the movie, and I loved Gyllenhaal and everything like that. But as a comic geek, that entire sequence was so gosh darn Mysterio that I just couldn't help but squee as I was watching it.
Yeah.
Even Liam will be the first to tell you that, oh my God, Dad, that scene was perfect. So, yeah, that's what I'm going with. That scene was outstanding, and I felt I liked the little callbacks that it made. I liked how in some cases where he's just trying to get away, like the reality of the room that he was in would kind of like strike him and everything like that. I loved it. I thought it was very well staged and very well done. So kudos to that.
I'm with you there, my friend. And again, this is a pretty damn good movie.
Agreed. But now we gotta go bad. Now we gotta go bad, ladies and gentlemen. We gotta get through two rough ones, and then we're gonna have kind of this interesting, steady fare of movies over the next couple of weeks. But first, we gotta get through X-Men Origins Wolverine. Why? I don't remember why.
The pains of being completists.
Oh, God, why did we have to go for the collector's editions?
Oh, boy. Well, we'll have plenty to talk about.
I hope so. I hope it's just not so terrible that it's just like, you know what? If we spend more time talking about the good things of Wolverine after we spent most of our time this week talking about the bad things of Far From Home, which we gave an 8 to, I'm going to be pissed.
Well, listen, we I don't think the shows are very good when we sit here going, this was cool. Oh, that was cool. This was great. So we need something to kind of pick at a little bit, and we did. I did.
I still think you went over the top with the Luke Skywalker comparison. That's too far.
I'll take the bullet on that one. I will take responsibility and.
I absolutely agree with you that I could see why his characterization would be different, but holy smokes, man, you don't do that. So until next time, sir.
All right, brother. Thank you for another good show, and I will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode, and be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube for spoiler-free reviews of new releases. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider becoming a Patreon. You can find our page on patreon.com/reviewswithoutremorse, one word. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are for commentary and critique and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.
Still no word on the whereabouts of your son's fiancée. Sorry, Jonah.
It's all my fault.
I drove Spider-Man away.
He was the only one who could have stopped Octavius.
Yes. Spider-Man was a hero. I just couldn't see it. He was a thief! A criminal! He stole my suit! He's a menace to the entire city! I want that wall-crawling arachnid prosecuted! I want him strung up by his web!